Let's talk about this thing called a sound unit. I kept calling this the reed, this thing sticking up in the air. Actually, that's the reed spring. The reed itself is this little deal right here, and it looks like this. It's got a little upward thing right there, and then the rest of it goes down underneath this screw right here. This is an adjustment screw, and the screw looks like this. Comes down, and it's got kind of a round bottom of it. And there's another one on the other side that looks like this. I'll show you that one in a minute. And it too comes down. And the reed, this is a threaded here, and this is threaded. The reed is between them, and this is the reed spring coming up here. And so what we've got is the reed spring and the reed and the two adjustment screws. The adjustment screws being this thing right here, and there's one on the other side that adjusts it from this side. Now when you look, they say when you look through this thing, down through the center, that you're supposed to have equal space on each side of this reed right there. And if not, you're supposed to adjust either one of these screws. And they highly recommend that, a highly skilled professional repairman do this. But the best thing to do is just throw it away and buy another one. Even if they get crud built up down in there, filings, things like that, it's best to just throw it away and buy a new one. Well, I checked at Walmart the other day, and they have sold their last one, and they don't expect to restock them. So I'm stuck with the one I've got. This is the coil, and what they said one way to check to find out if this thing is adjusted right is to grab the reed spring and move it down and up and down and up. And when you do, you're going to hear a click. Now I'll let you hear that. I'll get real close. It'll be blurry, but I want you to hear the click. And in the other direction, let's move it in the other direction, you can hear that one too. Alright. They said when you move it this way and that way, and you're listening for the click, you want to have equal pressure in both directions. Equal pressure in both directions to cause the click. Once you get that, then it should be centered enough to make the speaker work the proper way. And I can't tell. It seems like it might be a little bit. It seems like a little bit harder to move it this way. So I'm going to see what I can do about adjusting that. Alright, it took about 15 minutes of fiddling with it. When you adjust these screws, if you ever do, you can only turn them, oh God, I guess about, a 1/16 of an inch or less, one at a time. Then go around to the other side. Each time you make one tiny little adjustment, move your reed spring and see if it functions. And I found that by going by the sound of the spring click, as well as the amount of pressure it takes to move the reed spring in either direction, helps a lot. Listen to the sound in this direction, and then the other way. Slight difference, but almost the same. I think, and it's the same amount of pressure in both ways now, and it looks right down in the center to me. So we're going to go ahead and leave it there, and we're going to test it. To find out whether or not my adjustments solved some of my problems with the echo, I went ahead and mounted the sound unit on this board that I built. The two screws come through the back with the B-nuts on it. And through the top hole comes the speaker wires that run back into the radio. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and turn this thing on, and we're going to see if we can get some sound out of this thing. Keep in mind this is the vibrating spring that operates from the coil. It'll sit there and vibrate, and we'll see if we have any sound. So let's flip this baby on and see what happens. Let's see if anything happens at all. Well, the tubes are glowing. Cool, huh? Kind of give you an idea how this thing works. See it? Now let's try something else to make it sound better. I've taken a paper plate and I have it clipped onto that vibrating reed. Now let's flip the switch back on and see if we get any different sound out of it. We might have to adjust the speaker, the paper around.
Generally, the campaigns largely ignore them. But Karl Rove said something this morning on Fox News to Chris Wallace that was
pretty slick, huh? Let me readjust the clip here and then we'll see what that sounds like. Well, there we go.
Ohio has 11 million residents. There's about 3 million kids.
Let me see if I can tune it here a little bit and see if we can improve the sound. Of course, you know, it's not going to be really good because it is just a piece of paper plate. You know? But I don't hear that echoey sound anymore.
I see 3 and 4 times more Mitt Romney signs than I see Barack Hussein Obama because we've had a belly full and we've seen enough. That's why I say Ohio. It's where I was born in Covington, Kentucky, across the river. But it's where I was raised. It's where I keep all my yesterdays. It's where I grew up and I got mad.
Well, the only thing I can do now is put the speaker back together and hope for the best. The sound unit has been mounted back into the speaker housing. Now, interesting, these two nuts right here, by the way, are 1/4 inch. So if you ever have one you need to take off. And the way I've mounted this, I don't think it was done this way originally. It was, I mean, when I took it apart, it wasn't like this, but it was supposed to be like this. You run your speaker wire, the way the instructions tell you with this thing, you're supposed to run your speaker wire through your hole, up through the rear of the sound unit, behind the bag, you know, that this thing will be inside the bag, and then you bring it over and hook it here. And I think the way they had it when I opened it up was they just had it hooked up straight to there from the hole. That's really no good. So make sure you hook it up this way if you ever have one. Okay, let's go ahead and get the cone on. You'll recall that the cone was held on by a very, very small screw and nut. It went right through here to hold the cone onto the reed spring. Well, I'm not going to go ahead and put that on right now. I don't want to. If it doesn't work, and I may have to take it back off, the more you mess with something that small, the more chances you have of losing part of it. So I'm going to keep it in the bag, and by the way, I bought a very tiny 3/16 inch wrench. My television mentor, Brendan, he got really nervous when he saw me take that nut off, or crack it loose. I didn't take it off, I cracked it loose with a pair of needle nose because I didn't have a wrench this small. And he said, boy, he said, I was just on edge. Well, you know, I understand, so I just said the heck with it. I went out and bought a 3/16 open-end wrench, and that's what we'll be putting it back on with when the time comes. Meanwhile, I'm going to try and see if this will work. I'm just going to go ahead and clip this on the center, which will act basically as a screw. Of course, it might, the weight of this thing might affect the overall operation of the speaker. I don't know. I may have to wind up putting the nut in anyway. So let's find out. Well, I just flipped her on, and I am getting current draw down there. Sounds like I'm still getting echo.
From the Arkansas Radio Network.
Commission. We call those who violate game and fish laws such as hunting out of season or violating gear.
All right, let's go ahead and put that nut and screw in. All right, she's been flipped on. Come on, baby, give me some decent sound here. No, still got that vibration type thing. And I spent some time flattening out this paper. It was pretty crinkled. I actually thought that was part of the manufacturing process in order to fit this flat metal disc in there and rivet it in. But the more I got looking at it, I said, you know, it may not be the case. maybe it just got wrinkled from, I don't know, people messing with it or something over the years. So I went ahead and pressed it all out with my fingers. If need be, I may have to reinforce that back side of it with something, which I have no problem doing. So let's see what happens. Well, it's just starting to make that echoey sound again. Something not right. It may be that reed needs to be readjusted one more time, that reed spring. I don't know. Let's see what happens.
Upon the preaching of the Word of God. They are not coming with a great sense of expectation. They are not coming.
Well, folks, I've about concluded that the problem is not in the sound unit. The problem is actually in this soft, spongy paper around the center. And what's happening is this is supposed to be stiff, like that, but it's not. It's like that. And it's not vibrating properly, and it's causing the reed to sound really weird. So I may have to strengthen this up somehow on the rear of the cone. I haven't quite figured out how to do that, but you need a good stiff sound instead of this. It's just no good. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to solicit some help from you guys who watch my videos. Anybody got any idea how I can stiffen this up here? Now I can push it back in shape. There you go. See, I've got it. I can push it out. But the problem is I got to strengthen it up, make it stiffer, and keep it in that position. Let's have some ideas, fellers. I know you've got ideas. Let's hear them. Get this show on the road. I'm going to end this video right here. This is John.